Right. What is up, everybody? Welcome. We're here with some PGA DFS picks for the US Open 2022. Lineup advice, strategies, tips, FanDuel, DraftKings, Yahoo. We have some betting advice as well. This is a live Q&A. We're here for 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how long you guys are watching and have questions. Welcome. I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy, joined by League of Legends writer, professional sports bettor, recent emotional bankroll podcast guest, Ken Lin. Ken, what's up, buddy?
How's it going? I'm not, I know you guys normally have Nirmata, so I've got big shoes to fill tonight.
Yes, you do. However, I know you're deep in the golf betting world and you've been playing some high stakes PGA DFS over the past year or so. So I know we'll be in good hands here with you. So again, if you guys have questions throughout the show, go ahead and throw them in the live chat to the right of the YouTube screen. We'll answer them as we go. I see Super Pete is in the chat. I know Pete is super enthusiastic about all of our golf content. So Pete, appreciate you tuning in. Welcome. And basically what we're going to do here, we're going to just talk about the US Open, some PGA DFS picks. We'll go by pricing tiers. We'll talk from a high level what this tournament looks like. And then Ken's expertise and then a lot of the areas that we focus on at Occupy, betting market analysis for the US Open. We'll examine that and see what that means. So I guess, Ken, from a high level, let's start there. And let's start from what this golf tournament looks like and just what the DFS landscape looks like, because it's a major. And for DFS, as you see on the DraftKings screen here, we have three different millionaire makers. We have a $15 price point, a $100 price point, a $4,000 price point. Hopefully you out there watching have accumulated the tickets to some of them. And because of the sizes and the talent and the skill of each individual contest, it requires a different strategy. And Ken, because it is a major, we have some, I would probably say, laughable pricing on both sides.
Sure, I feel like every major we do get some questionable pricing, but there's some major, definitely some outliers this major. Like I'll start with sanjay, who's probably 7,600, but he's had lots of love in the betting market and a lot of other places. So that was probably the main one that you could probably picked out even like last Saturday. And then a couple other ones, probably Sam Burns, who's probably around top 10 there in betting markets, but he's only 8,300. And Matt Fitzpatrick, similarly priced to Sam Burns and also around top 10 in the betting markets. So these are some of the guys that a lot of ownership will condense on, because that's just how PGA DFS works. They're good plays and they've received lots of love in the betting markets. So they'll be high owned, and we'll go in how to kind of attack these spots and what we're doing with them.
Absolutely. And Ken, I don't know if you heard, did you know Fitzpatrick won this event when he was an amateur here? Did you know that?
Yeah, but Seamus Power was surprised when he told him that. So he did not know that.
Yeah, he was
but
like,
I didn't know. Yeah.
He was like, oh, no shit, for real? And he's like, yeah, like everybody knows that I won that.
Yeah.
Super Pete in the chat says, any worries regarding Cantley? He missed his presser today for personal reasons. Ken, I haven't heard anything. I know he's still got some movement in the betting markets, but I don't know if you've heard anything about Cantley's availability.
I haven't seen anything on Cantley. I hope he's all good, because he's definitely a guy I'm looking to play this week. So hopefully it's not terrible news.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. And again, make sure you monitor PGA Tour comms on Twitter leading up until the 6:45 a.m. lock tomorrow. If he is withdrawn, we'll probably find out at 6:47. So fingers crossed. So I guess, and then let's talk about this course in particular, Ken, because there are varying schools of thoughts on what's going to be important at this course, right? Super old school course. The rough is pretty tough in most spots, particularly around the green. And I think, Ken, probably one of the biggest questions we have to answer this week is driving accuracy versus driving distance. Obviously, in a perfect world, you want both, and that's why some of the guys are priced where they are. But there is some thought that if you miss the fairway here, you're in trouble, where there's some thought that if you just bomb it, get it close, but you have to get it on the green. I'm wondering if you lean one way or the other, if you think the betting markets are telling us one way or the other.
It's definitely an interesting question this week to see kind of whether accuracy is a big deal or not, because I'm sure we all know that these roughs are rough to say, but so it's hard to land on fairways. So I mean, I guess if you're missing, then you gotta be really good out of the rough, and it might even be more important to be good around the green, because it's going to be tough to get it in the fairway. It's going to be tough to hit it onto these really small greens. So I think betting markets have leaned towards these golfers who are just grinders. Like Brian Harmon has received some love, and Shane Lowry and all these guys who are just grinders and can hit it from out of the rough and around the green. So I think there's definitely emphasis where driving accuracy is probably a bit less important this week, and maybe a bit more emphasis on playing out of the rough and playing tough golf, as they like to say.
Yeah, the grinders. I know when Nero's on the show, guys who don't mind working for par. It's an interesting because if you look at the odds to win and the winning score, we're looking at probably 5 under par at most, maybe 6 under par. But the cut is going to be above par. It's an insanely tough course, and that requires a different type of golfer, and it requires a different type of mentality to grind through that for 36 holes to make the cut, and then to grind through it on the weekend. Another area to consider here is the weather, which it seems like over the past couple of months or so, it's always been a consideration with the wind primarily. And it seems to me, Ken, like there's a minor edge for Thursday morning golfers. Anytime you have a U.S. Open, Thursday mornings, generally on a tough course, the best conditions you'll receive all week. But even so, with the wind being the amount that it is on Thursday morning, looks to be a slight edge. And I think Data Golf in their free projections, they have the early wave being close to a half stroke of advantage. So I'm wondering if that's factored into your betting or your DFS at all.
The weather is definitely in play for, I think it's especially important when it comes to showdown. The AM/PM wave is actually a big thing to consider when you're playing showdown round one. So I know, there's probably a good amount of 150 maxers where they'll use golfers in kind of their week long, and they'll use similar golfers in round one, but the last golfers near the end where you decide to cut or put in, they'll probably consider some sort of wave stacking there. So AM is definitely a good target for round one showdown. You could probably make the case that you could target them in week long as well. But if you're playing showdown, it's really important, and it doesn't hurt to stack, right? Like sometimes you see there's no edge, but it didn't hurt you. Right. But then sometimes, the morning, if it plays 2 strokes easier, then and if you've got all these AM waves, then that's super important as well. So definitely consider it for showdown.
Yeah, the only time it actually kills you is the Players' Championship when the wave stacks get completely reversed, right? Because Nero and I talked on this show that week. It was like, well, the worst case that can happen is you're just in the same boat as everyone. No, the worst case was the wind completely flipped and those golfers got screwed. But that was an extreme circumstance, right, Ken? It's not like very often we'll have the waves flip like that.
Yeah, well, wind was crazy that week, so you could have probably even been on some PM stacks. Whereas I think this week is probably a bit toned down, and it's probably pretty clear that AM is the only wave that probably gets an edge here. And it'd be surprising if it were the other way around.
For sure. Pete asked, any prize picks plays you guys like? I haven't looked at it this week, but as you listen to us talk, you'll see the guys that were high on, the guys that were low on, and you can make some plays around that. And then consider that weather angle we just talked about as well. Wig in the chat, single entry, 5,300 size. So there's a very tough contest to make money in. Do you use strategy for high risk small field because it's only one entry? I feel like high risk large fields for MMEs. Yeah, but you got to figure here, Wig, and Ken, you can chime in as well. I know you don't play these contests that often, but you have to figure you have a 1 in a 5,300 chance of winning that particular contest, right? Which is super tough. And you have to play a high risk strategy. Even though it's only 5,300 people, you still have to beat 99.99% of it.
Yeah, just by doing the math, it's going to be a tough contest to win. So I would treat it as a single entry large field for sure, and definitely have to consider ownership and gaining leverage in those types of contests.
Absolutely. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go tier by tier, pricing tier by pricing tier on DraftKings, talk about who we like, who we don't like, where the betting markets are leaning, ownership, things of that variety. So, Kim, we'll start with a 10K plus range on DraftKings. That's Scotty Scheffler, JT, Rahm, Rory, Cam Smith, and Morikawa. What are you seeing from the betting markets in regards to this group, and who do you think is going to end up being popular, overlooked? Just give me the rundown.
Sure. In this 10K range, I think the betting markets have made it very clear that there's a top 4. So it's actually the 4 guys that are 10-5 and up. So Rory, Rahm, Thomas, and Scheffler. So these guys are actually, even on BetCris, which is the matchups, they're also really close to 50-50. So, whichever one of these golfers you like, I've seen a lot of info where actually all 4 golfers have been mentioned. So it's just kind of, pick your poison and hope your guy can pull out a victory because he's going to have to at this pricing range. And then on to these other 2 guys. I mean, Cam Smith I've seen he's been faded a lot in these betting markets. So people are definitely lower on him. If I had to figure out why, he's a really good putter on a course that's going to be really tough to make birdies. So, I mean, you're not going to get that much putting variance. Like, it's going to be tough. You got to hit the ball well. And probably one of his strengths is taken away there. So that's why I think people are lower on Cam Smith this week. And then Colin Morikawa, I mean, he hasn't been in good form, but like he's been here before. He's won 2 majors. He can play. He won the British Open probably a couple of years ago. So this is a course that kind of profiles similar to that. So he can definitely come up under 8%. I know Nero wrote him up, and I'll definitely be looking to use some Morikawa in my lineups as well.
Yeah, I love that analysis, and the strength negation of Cam Smith is a great argument because if you read reports of practice rounds this week, you would see stories like guys were just missing like 10 putts in a row from inside 5 feet. The greens are incredible, and so a lot of the putting advantage is negated in that regard. Many guys are going to miss easy putts. So for one out there, don't get frustrated if you're watching Shot Tracker. You're like, how the hell did that guy miss a 4-foot putt? Well, it's an extremely tough course to putt on. And yeah, it's kind of tough. Large field, can we generally see that these 10K plus guys get priced out or not in the optimal lineup in majors? I'm wondering if you and I have talked about this many times offline. I'm wondering if you still feel the same way, what your thoughts are on fading the 10K range completely in a major.
It's definitely an interesting theory, but I think it's a bit different this week because there are some guys in this kind of 7,000 range who are really good golfers. I was actually clicking an hour earlier and I was leaving like 3K salary because I like so many of these guys. I was like, I wonder if I can run this. So, I mean, it's clear there's a top 4, like they're the 4, top golfers in the field, but they're all 10-5 and up. But you really can't go wrong with playing any of them because they're just that good and it's a major and it's going to be a tough course and you want the best golfers. So I think for this major, it's different where I would be willing to get up to, Rory, Rahm, JT, or Scheffler. I would be willing to use these guys. In small field contests, I mean, I think it's fine. If you have a different take in large field contests, like what are you doing with these guys this week?
I'm actually playing them. In the past majors, I haven't played them, but because of all the points you just laid out, I think it is smart to play them this week. And we see so much talk about balanced builds this week that I think a stars and scrubs approach, no matter how gross it is, or even just like not necessarily stars and scrubs, but 1 star and a little bit balanced after that, I think is a little bit unique in a sense. And the fact that we can get the best golfer in the world, Scotty Scheffler, at under 15% is just even more credence to play that kind of strategy. So I'm digging it this week. It's something I normally don't do, but I am on board this week in all contest sizes. All right, we got some questions in the chat here. Luis or Louis, apologies if we pronounce the name wrong, let us know. He says, I got 6 lineups in the Millie Maker. Should I completely fade chalk considering I only have 6 lineups? Yeah, that's the question, Ken, right? Because if you're okay with going 0 for 6, right? Like if a $15 ticket or if it's a $100 ticket, if a min cash is super important to your bankroll, maybe you don't play that crazily. But if you're like, hey, I go 0 for 6, I'm okay. I'm gonna move on to the next slate. I don't have a problem with that. I'm wondering, Ken, how crazy is too crazy? Even in like the $15 where there's 200,000 people, like how much chalk should you fade? Should you not fade? It's a really difficult question to answer.
I think you touched on a good point. What you're looking for, kind of like, are you looking to win $1 million? Or are you you're okay, probably winning 30 or $35, whatever the min cash is. So I mean, some of these chalk plays are, they're good plays. They're just 20% owned. Like Sanjay is a guy that's projected to have a good week, and that's probably his medium projection is he's going to be good this week. I mean, Sam Burns the same way.
I think if you Ken, real quick, about Sanjay, he's not just a value, right? Because many times on PGA weeks we're like, oh, this guy is mispriced by a little bit. His odds are off. He's going to end up 15-20%. But Sanjay, despite being 7,600, is in betting markets and most projections is like a top 10 or top 15 guy this week.
Yeah, he's like top 10 in betting markets. So I mean, he's a good play based off betting markets, and so I can't fault you if you want to play Sanjay this week. But I mean, definitely consider, like, if you like these guys, Sanjay, Sam Burns, Fitzpatrick. I mean, just play these guys, but probably play them heavily. Like, probably don't mix in one out of six with Sanjay. If you're gonna play Sanjay, probably have to go for it and then mix in a couple guys around that. So definitely depends what you're looking for, but that's how I approach it.
I like that. So either go all in or none if you have 6 lineups, right? Play Sanjay in all 6 and pray that's the right way to go, or don't play him at all and find some pivots. So I think both are viable strategies. Hopefully one of those helps you out. Let's see here. Max's question we'll get to at the very end because that's a fun question. Favorite play, favorite fade. We'll stick around to the very end. We'll answer that question. Ricky says, how much Mansell are you playing? For those who don't know, and I didn't know as of like Monday who this guy was, but a DP Tour guy. Nero wrote him up in the plug. Ken, I know he's new to you as well. How much are we playing to this guy?
Yeah, we're all in the same boat, but I trust Nero enough where I'm only playing a handful of lineups, but I think at his price point, Mansell, I don't think there's many people that'll go down to 6K range, so he's definitely going to find himself in one lineup, but not multiple, but definitely good enough for one.
Yeah, and I'll sprinkle him in my large field. Just look at his recent results over there. 3rd, 9th, 23rd, 8th, 26th, 30th. It's a different world, right? It's a different type of course. But again, for a guy who Nero described as top 5 in the tour, being priced at 6,100 and being priced below some amateurs is incorrect. So for largest field contests, we're definitely playing him some. Let's see. OA says, how closely do Vegas odds track with miscut? And we'll answer that question first. I guess, Ken, it's 2 different questions because the odds to win market is different than betting market, the head-to-head matchup market, which is different than the make cut market because bookmakers are taking on different risks and bettors are playing for different outcomes. So maybe you could touch on that a little bit.
Sure. I think for golf, it's hard to say, but for golf, there are different guys with like a huge range of outcomes. Like, for example, Brooks Koepka's range of outcomes probably first or, dead last this week, whereas someone solid, probably maybe like Fitzpatrick, has a smaller range of outcomes. So that's something to consider when you want missed or make cuts. So sometimes you'll see value on the guys with wider tails to miss the cut, whereas, if these guys are solid and they play well enough, like Fitzpatrick probably makes a lot of cuts, and then some other guys like Tony Finau, he makes a lot of cuts. So it's hard to say. I think Vegas odds are pretty sharp, but actually they only really offer, they'll only take large money during the majors on these make-miss cuts. So it's hard to gauge how accurate they are. But you have to be willing to take some shots with these missed cuts, like on guys like Brooks, maybe on guys like Bryson, Tiger a couple weeks ago. So stuff like that.
That makes a ton of sense. And the follow-up question is completely different. It's about max ownership percentage that you'd like to stay below. That's not a metric that we look at here at Occupy. Ours is particular line of construction. Check out the daily plug, occupyfantasy.com. Let me bring it up really quickly. No, I can't bring it up. But we have our line of construction tips for each contest size. So make sure you check that out. It's about how much you get below 5%, how many guys you use above 15%. That's how we like to look at it. Pete says, thoughts on Taylor Montgomery at 6,400. The model's a pretty big fan this week. Heard some good things about him. So, Ken, this guy is a Korn Ferry Tour guy. And a lot of these guys are going to pop in projections if you don't provide some sort of coefficient, some sort of transitive adjustment on their strokes gained from Korn Ferry to PGA Tour. Guys like him, guys like Stevens, guys like Barnes, these guys have been crushing on the Korn Ferry Tour. But as we talked about with Mansell, this is a completely different atmosphere at the U.S. Open. So, Ken, I guess just speak on some of these Korn Ferry guys and your thoughts on them.
It's good that you confirmed that we do adjust it in the model, or else we're using Korn Ferry stats. So that probably wouldn't be a good idea. But I mean, yeah, sometimes you get these guys adjusted, and then sometimes they pop. I mean, he's a play where he's going to be 1%. But he's probably going to be a good large field, super large field. If you want to win $1 million, then you have to hope for some variance. I mean, in small field contests, I don't know how I'm willing to click on Taylor Montgomery. It's going to be tough. So he's probably only a guy I would look for in a large field contest. You're probably playing him some, so if you have any info on him.
I mean, you hit it right. Like, I'm not going to play him in the 4-4-4-4. I'm not going to play him in any 500 player or less contest. But contests with $1 million up top with a $100 entry or a $15 entry, Yeah, I'm going to load up on him, right? Basically, if a guy is 1% in PGA DFS, and Ken, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm curious to get your take. If a guy is like 1%, 2% in PGA DFS, it's probably not a guy that you want to play in small field contests.
It's going to be tough unless, I mean, you have something really good or you really trust. It's probably best to stay away from it.
Right, right, totally. All right, guys, if you have more questions, throw them in the chat. It's only 8:20. We're here for at least 10 more minutes. So, Ken, let's jump down to the next price tier. And let's get up here. There we are. Okay, so the 9K range from Hovland all the way down to Shane Lowry. To me, Ken, it looks like the chalk here is going to be Lowry. It's going to be Xander. And then we have some lower owned guys in DJ. And I guess he's probably the lowest owned of that group. Maybe Hovland some. But thoughts on this range?
This is probably the range where I think if winning lineups, it's probably going to feature a guy from here. Because in majors, I mean, this is the range where you get really good golfers priced at 9K, and that allows you to put them in your lineups. So, I mean, there are a lot of options to choose from. I think a main guy is probably Xander. He's probably going to be the chalkiest of the bunch. But also in betting markets, after the top four, like he's probably firmly fifth in terms of betting markets. So a lot to love for Xander this week. But I'm probably looking elsewhere. I mean, Hovland's a good golfer. He's only going to be 6%. I know Neil wrote him up because he's a great ball striker. So I'm willing to lean on that, and I'll be looking at Hovland some. Spieth actually had a flu that I read today, so that's probably tough. So definitely keep track of that. Hopefully he doesn't withdraw, but I've seen him in articles as well. There's probably been good info, but I think with the flu or whatever stomach bug he has, that'll scare me away. And then Dustin Johnson, I mean, LIV Golf. I mean, no one's going to play him. They think he's checked out, but he's 3%. Like, you could probably just play him because he's 3%. So definitely, I mean, someone to consider. And then Zalatoris, Cantlay, Hideki. I mean, these guys, it's going to be a flat ownership week. It's kind of a pick who you like. Betting markets have actually been supporting Cantlay, so he's definitely someone I'm looking at in terms of that 9K range. And then Shane Lowry's going to be chalk, but he's a good win player, so he's probably some lineups I put him into as well.
I think that's a fantastic breakdown. Cantlay is the cover boy of the plug this week, and sub 15% it looks like, and you got to like him in that price range. And good stuff on Spieth. Let's monitor that. Let's see if he withdraws. And he's got some considerable ownership, not higher owned, but should be above 10%. So interesting. And Lowry, yeah, is 9K, a little underpriced, has been playing out of his mind this year, and it fits the course really well. So if you're looking for a chalk piece in that range, I don't mind eating it there. All right, a couple more questions here in the chat. Chris says, favorite play that is less than 5% owned that isn't less than 7K. So 7K or above. Let's go to the Occupy model. Ranks every golfer, FanDuel, and DraftKings with projected ownership. And if we look at guys that are sub 5%, that are above 7K, I'm going to name these guys. I'm just going to list them off, Ken. We got DJ. We got Koepka. We can go Billy Ho. He's 6%. We'll count him for this exercise. Tyrrell Hatton is 3%. Bryson is 1%. Answer is 4%. Oosthuizen 6%. Gooch 6%. Power 4%. Harris English is at a hearty 0%. Then we got Hoagie, Garcia, Scott, Leishman, and everybody basically 7K to 7,300 or so. So can any of those names, of those 30 names I just named, stick out to you as some guy that you're okay with playing in your large field tournament lineups?
I think we should point out the factor that a good majority of these guys are on the new golf tour. Have you heard about that, or the fancy golf tour? Yeah, they've got going across there. So I mean, some of these guys, they've actually, I feel like there's an ownership discount because they've gone off to the LIV golf tour, and maybe they don't think the motivation's there, like they've been paid. But you could look at it the other way, where maybe they it's the last chance to get to compete against these top guys, and it's a major. Like, some of these guys have to compete. So I mean, Oosthuizen, Gooch, Sergio, I mean, all these guys sub 5%. Like I was clicking on them. I like Taylor Gooch. He's received betting market he's received movement in the betting market, so a lot of positive movement for Taylor Gooch. He was also surprised that he went to the LIV Golf, so he wanted to get paid, but I think he still wants to win and come back here. And then Sergio, was an interesting one. I'm typing in these guys' names and then followed by U.S. Open, and you won't see any info because all your favorite touts are on Sanjay or whoever.
Yeah.
So I mean, Sergio, I think he's a good win player. I put him in a lineup that I do have some where like these are good win players. So Sergio and Shane Lowry I have in the same lineup probably. So he's definitely a guy I'm looking at. And then Nirmata wrote up Abraham Answer, which I think will go underrated. He's just a good golfer. It's just that there are a bunch of guys around him, but he's still a good golfer. And then Seamus Power, also similar. Nirmata wrote him up. He's a good golfer, and he's received some betting market love too as well. So definitely look at probably those four guys for me.
So it's what's crazy to me is right, like Seamus Power is priced right next to Sungjae, and Sungjae is going to be, what do you think, Ken? 5 times more owned, maybe higher. And I guess the question is, does he really finish higher than Power 5 times more often? The answer's got to be no. On a tough, very tough course like this in golf.
I mean, Sanjay could be like 25, 30% in even your small field contests where it gets condensed. So definitely look towards the other guys here.
Absolutely. All right, so let's see. We got some more questions here. Max says, first round leader pick for the Showdown fans. Ken, any first round leader bets? Any guys you're eyeing that got the early tee time on Thursday?
These are tough because I think when you bet first round leader, you want what I mentioned with the make miss cut earlier, where you want guys with wide range of outcomes. So for first round leader, I will go with. I'm not going to go with Montgomery or Stevens or Barnes or whoever these guys.
Oh, come on.
Like I mean Munoz or Johnny Vegas. Those are like my auto 2 guys who are first round leaders because they just always end up at the top or bottom. So probably one of those 2 guys.
There we go. All right. Ricky says, do the latest betting markets like Joaquin Niemann? So that leads us into this 8K range. Niemann at the top all the way down to Tyrrell Hatton. So I guess Ken, start us off with Niemann, what the betting markets are saying, and the high and low owned guys in this group.
Sure. The 8K range is interesting because, I mean, there are really some clear chalk pieces in Burns, Finau, and Homa. And those guys are probably in the low 8K range. So if someone were to get squeezed out, some of these guys I think are in the high 8Ks, like Niemann. Cam Young probably won't be too popular as we project at Brooks Koepka, Billy Horschel. Like, these guys won't be popular. And Niemann, I mean, how do you say it? He's a good golfer, but there are just so many mispriced guys around him where you kind of get a bit of a discount. And he's 8,900, whereas Sungjae is 7,600. But if it was a perfect world, like, they're probably fair price, maybe 8,300. So he's just kind of expensive, which is why you get ownership discount. But the betting markets, they think he's probably equal Sungjae. It's just that, are you willing to fork that extra, $1,000, $1,200, however many dollars it is to play Niemann? So definitely an interesting leverage play, if I had to say. And I mean, he's still 33-1 to win it all, so he definitely can win the tournament. So definitely, I think Niemann's a strong play.
I mean, there's just so much leverage here outside of those guys that you named, outside of Burns, outside of Sungjae. And that's really the ultimate question you have this week. Are you going to play those guys, or are you going to play... Well, I guess here's the question, Kim. Would you rather play a chalky golfer above 9K, like Lowry, Xander, or would you rather play Sungjae or Burns if you had to choose between the 2 chalk options?
That's such a tough question because it's like, I don't know, whoever wins the tournament. But like if Sanjay crushes, it's gonna be so hard to, like, how would you feel on Sunday if he just wins and crushes? Like, oh, that was the easiest play ever. Like, I mean, Corey Connors was 7,600 before during another major, or maybe even cheaper. But and then he just crushed, and he was like in every winning lineup. But I mean, some of these chalk guys up top, like, I think I'd rather trust these guys. I mean, Xander or even like Shane Lowry, like, these guys are proven where you just have to hope that Sanjay, like, that he just sucks. Because if he succeeds, then all these guys with lineups with Rory, Rahm, like that's what allows them to work. So, I mean, I hope I would rather play these top guys at the chalk and hope the bottom chalk fail here.
Yeah, I think that's the way you have to play it. If you're playing for first, right? If you're playing for first in these contests, that's the way I think you have to play it. It really is. So let's see. All right, let's get to Max's question. It is 8:30. We'll stick around for a little bit more. We do got to talk about the 7K and 6K range really quickly. But let's talk about who we like to win the tournament, our favorite play favorite fade, and guy that you're playing that we shouldn't. So Ken, we'll go back and forth here. We'll bounce it back. Who's going to win the U.S. Open?
Man, I mean, like anyone can win it. Bryson? I don't know.
Right?
Should I?
No, you shouldn't. You should not say that.
No, Bryson can't. I mean, I hope it's a LIV golfer for the memes, but I think, yeah. I mean, a legitimate. Okay, I'll say Fitzpatrick just because it would be awesome if his first probably only PGA Tour win ever. And I've always said if the winning score is even, he's gonna be up there. So I'm gonna pick Fitzpatrick.
Okay, fair enough. I'm copping out here because he's the best golfer in the world, but I'll go Scotty Scheffler. I think Scheffler wins it. And I guess people aren't expecting it because there's no way he can keep doing what he's doing, but he is the favorite and he's the highest priced golfer, but I'll go with Scotty Scheffler. So favorite DFS play, regardless of ownership, or I guess considering ownership, favorite DFS play that you're playing, Kim?
Oh, it's easily the 7K guys under 5% golfers that are named. Like Taylor Gooch is probably Taylor Gooch is easily probably one of my favorite plays. Another one that's a bit chalkier that I'll play is Corey Connors. He's had a good run. I mean, fantastic ball striker. He pops in the model, and he's done really well at majors. So hopefully they'll take some ownership away with the guys around him. But Corey Connors is a guy I'm willing to play this week.
Okay, cool. I like Connors a lot too, and I don't want to get too crazy with this pick. Favorite play is either probably Finau or Lowry. They're underpriced. They're going to be a little bit chalky, but I think they're great plays. Those are my favorite plays. Favorite fade, guy that is going to be popular, Ken, that we shouldn't play, that you're not playing at least.
Dude, like everyone who's chalk. I mean, Sanjay is. I mean, Rory. I'm not gonna like these 10.5 guys. I don't know if I'll get to any in small field. Like maybe Scheffler, just because he's so expensive. Where I think the ownership will it'll bring him down a notch since he is so expensive. But I mean, Rahm, Thomas, Rory, it's gonna be tough. I'd rather dip my toes in somewhere else. But looking at these high owned guys like Sanjay, I'm not playing Sanjay in DFS this week. I don't know if you're playing Sanjay, but I won't be playing him.
So I have 3 different lineup sets, right, for the 100, the 15, and the 444. I have him in one of those lineup sets. I am fading him in the other 2. I just think he's got to be the fade of fades just based on ownership. But I don't know, man. Goddamn, he's such a good play, just like in a vacuum, just based on betting markets and what it's telling us. But for me, what ultimately this week comes back to is, unless you're an elite golfer, that this course can eat anyone up. And if anyone's going to be 20, 25% owned, all it takes is 1 hole, 1 to 2 holes, and that ownership is missing a cut. So I'll say Sanjay for this exercise. The other one I'll say is probably, man, it's pretty. There's a lot of chalk this week. That's the crazy thing. Probably like Mito, those guys in that range is another fade that I'm going with in most of my contests. And then a guy that you're playing, Ken, that we should not. We might be on the same guys here, but guy that's going to be in your lineups that we shouldn't have.
Oh, easily the guy himself, the Euro Tour GOAT, Richard Mansell. The dude I didn't even know existed until Monday. And they wrote him up, and Nero was like, he's a top 5 golfer. I was like, I don't know. I've never heard of him. And I know, probably at least 10, hopefully. But I mean, Mansell's probably a guy you shouldn't be playing. I'm going to play Sergio just because it's Sergio Garcia. Good win player. And he's a funny guy. He's like, a couple months ago, he's like, I can't wait to not have to deal with you guys anyways. And I hope he wins. So, good win player. But but the legit reason, good win player, pair him up with win guys, Euro Tour grinder, Spaniard. So Sergio Garcia, definitely a guy you should not be playing.
Yeah, for me, it's those Corn Ferry Tour guys, right? Like Montgomery, Stevens, Barnes, and then some of the DP Tour guys. You know what? Actually, DP Tour guy that we haven't mentioned yet, Ken, that's probably the best play of anyone in that range is Ryan Fox. I know Nero put him in the plug, at least as a play that he likes. I'm having a ton of Ryan Fox, and I know, Ken, even the betting markets are liking Ryan Fox on the site, despite how crazy his odds are for this event.
Ryan Fox is definitely an interesting one. I know Nero wrote him up, so definitely see something there. But he's also like dead last in accuracy. So he's someone who's really good with irons, really good on approach, and they're hoping that if everyone misses, he's probably one to come out on top, and he's a good play. So I mean, do you think he'll be 2% or maybe a bit higher, or what do you think there?
Maybe he gets up to 4 or 5% if people jam more stars and scrubs. But I mean, our early projection, or I guess not our early projection, our projection right now is 2 to 3%. And I guess, Ken, it probably even makes some sense, right? Because we had this discussion at the top of the show, accuracy versus distance, that if you play Ryan Fox, you're likely saying that accuracy does not matter in this event because his accuracy is pretty poor off the tee in general. So if you're playing Ryan Fox, especially if you're hand building, maybe that lineup says these are golfers that accuracy won't affect them in this event. So if accuracy doesn't end up mattering in the long run, and it's all about distance, or it's all about everyone's in the rough, whoever can get to the green the best, then he makes sense in that type of lineup than randomly putting him in with other golfers that don't fit that criteria, I would say.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure. I mean, you can't wait to pair him up with a guy like Bryson, right? So,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's the perfect type of pairing, right? If Bryson's going to bomb this course and can't hit it off the tee in play, but he can get it on the green, then Fox is going to benefit as well, in theory.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find the guys who just suck but hit it far, and then if the course plays like that, then hopefully you're right up there.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, 8:36. We'll get out of here in a couple minutes. If you guys have any final questions, get them in the chat. We'll rapid fire these. Patrick says, any tips on utilizing the builder for PGA? Thinking of dipping my toes in for the Open. Ken, I don't know if you use the builder that much. I use it every single week. So what I'll say, Patrick, if you have follow-up questions, hit us up in Discord. But what I'll say is create the custom rules that Nero outlines in the plug for lineup construction tips. Put those in. And in addition to the model OF index, I would turn on custom projections and maybe bump guys or lower guys based on where they rank in the plug, based on what they're getting in the betting markets, just because that has an impact as well. It's a lot of subjective data in this sport. So manually bump or lower guys that you see in the plug. And I think that's the best tip of all. All right, so Ken, really quickly, let's get out of here. Guys in the 7K range. We talked about Sanjay. We talked about some of these pivots. I think we hit this pretty good. Let me see if there's any guys that we haven't touched on just yet. No, I think we hit on most of these guys in the 7K range. 6K range, I think we got it all. Any other guys less than 8K that we haven't talked about that you think are worth mentioning?
First, I'll say for 6K, like it's pretty ugly down there. But the field will probably think that way too, so we won't see much ownership on really any of these 6K guys. But if you're looking to take down something large field, then probably consider, one or two. Like, really, they're going to make the cut because, the 6 of 6 is not going to be a lot this week, so maybe like 4 or 5%. So if you can get one of these 6K guys make the cut and hopefully pair it up with the expensive guy, that's definitely a way. One of these guys in the 7K range that I'll be playing is Keegan Bradley. I'm willing to eat the chalk there as well, but he's got betting market love and he ranks well as well. So Keegan Bradley for me.
Right, and real quick, I'll throw this out there. If you guys like this type of information, let us know. But can we track some of the 3 sharpest sports books, Pinnacle, Chris, Circa, and here are guys that have received money at all 3 of those books. And maybe this can help narrow down the chalk pool for you, let you know who bettors are on to win the tournament. Here they are, Ken. It's Sanjay, Brian Harmon, Shane Lowry, Tony Finau, Sam Burns, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, which if you're interested in fading the chalk, this list will make you throw up.
Yeah, isn't it crazy how all those guys are chalk? Can you believe that?
Dude, it's the worst. It's actually the worst.
Yeah.
So, all right. Final questions from Pete. Kevin Na, another live guy. Ken, should we just try to build an all-live lineup and just take down a GPP and just rub it in everyone's faces? I think that's a good idea.
Dude, you gotta do it. You gotta leave 4K and try to hit the optimal lineup they post every week.
Just have Phil and Louis and all these guys. Yeah, 3,500 left over. All live golfers. They finished 1 through 6. Be fantastic.
Yeah, the most unlikable golfers. But on Kevin Na, I've never seen anything positive posted about this guy. So if you see something that makes you want to play Kevin Na, I say go for it. But
and that's always that's always the key, right? In golf, we're looking for outliers in the 1 to 5% range. They're 1 to 5% for a reason. But if you can find a reason to play them, That's likely enough in a large field contest. And so we'll leave it at that. So, Ken, any final thoughts on the U.S. Open? Anything we haven't touched on?
It's gonna be a good week. It's gonna be a tough course, and usually I like these courses more than when they shoot minus 25 or whatever.
Me too.
But it's gonna be tough. We're gonna be so mad when like some of the guys we talked about are gonna be like plus 10 on day one. So hopefully they can pull some back on Friday. But we'll see how it goes. Good luck, everyone. Hopefully we win some money. Is there anything you'd like to touch on?
No, I think we did. It's just, I don't know what's going to be more tilting. The guys we talked about that are plus 10 or Sanjay leading after Friday. Both are going to be equally tilting. So, but it's a long tournament. We see a lot of screenshots. We get a lot of complaints, whether on Twitter or in Discord. It's a long tournament, dude. 4 days, things can change heavily. So we're in it for the sweat for the long haul. So make sure you follow follow Ken on Twitter at SwagLordKen. He's in our Discord at St. Kenneth. He writes the League of Legends Daily Plug, OccupyFantasy.com. That is back for the summer split. It's up on Occupy Fantasy. The PGA Daily Plug that we referenced a lot. Niramata's on vacation this week. He's a top PGA DFS player. Couldn't join the show, but he writes his thoughts and his top plays and lineup strategies and betting market analysis every single week at OccupyFantasy.com. The model you saw on screen, that's updated by Monday nights or Tuesday mornings for every single event. The builder helps you build up to 300 lineups using our optimal lineup criteria. Everything you need to crush PGA DFS. You can follow me on Twitter at Brian Jester FF. If you like what you saw, please give us a subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. It lets you know when we make more of these types of videos. So for Ken, I'm Brian. Everyone, good luck in the U.S. Open and enjoy it.